Hello, welcome back to Vintage Times. My name is Kathy Rager. I'm the Senior Services Coordinator for Downers Grove Township. On our last program, we had Bridget James from DuPage County Senior Services, Community Services here, and she talked at length about different services that the county has. And we always try to inform our residents about resources within our communities. And local park districts, the township and the county have a lot of activities and information that are available to the public. We kind of work at our township as a resource and referral system, even though we do have some programs and services, including our Dial-A-Ride program and our senior car care clinic, our AARP safe driving class, and we're doing senior survival skills seminars as well. But there are some really important, critical, and vital services that the county collaborates with others about, and or has a program at the county or in other locations associated with the county. So we were barely able to scratch the surface last time. We touched on the SHIP program, which has to do with Medicare and medical needs for seniors. But I'm going to welcome Bridget back again today because we need to talk about it a little bit more. There are so many more services that the county offers, and we're going to hone in on a few more of those that are particularly of interest to our seniors. So, Bridget, thank you, and welcome back to the program.
Thank you so much for having me back.
And when we left last time, you were talking about community services and what that means. And particularly, we talked about senior services, and you said that the age for senior services to qualify is what was that age?
60 and over is typically the age for most of the senior services that we offer.
Well, I know we spent a lot of time on Medicare, and I will probably circle back to that if we have time. But I would like you to talk a little bit more about some of the other services that you do offer. We can touch on LIHEAP, and maybe you could explain what that stands for and what that means.
Sure. Yeah, it's a long name. So it's the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, or LIHEAP for short. And essentially, it's a utility assistance program for gas and electric bills that helps either people put a credit on their gas and electric bill over the winter months. So it started October 1st for the senior population, so 60 and over, and the disabled population. And then November 1st, it just rolled out for additional populations for children who have people who have children 5 and under in the household, and those who are disconnected on top of the seniors and disabled. So it does a target.
So it rolls out slowly.
Yeah, it rolls out slowly. Yeah, and then December 1st is anybody who is income eligible. So there is an income guideline that's kind of following this whole program that kind of targets low income households. But that assistance will help, kind of pay that higher utility bills in the winter because of heating needs.
So we're talking about gas and electric, and that's in residential homes. And what else is that?
Residential homes, apartments, condos. As long as you pay the utility bill there, that and you're residential, not a business, that we can help with that program. Our program is specifically for DuPage County, but there are LIHEAP sites all in different counties, so this is a statewide program.
And I know we have a case manager at the township, and he takes appointments only. So they call Gary Ostrowski at Downers Grove Township, and we do them in our location. And that the program lasts from October till
May 31st.
May 31st.
So, yeah.
Okay. And then so during the summer it isn't going on at all.
No.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's strictly kind of what I call a school year program. Kind of starts right around the beginning of the school year and runs to almost the end, and it's designed to be a heating program. So kind of as it's warming up in the end of May, the program ends, and then it restarts again in October. So.
Do you get a lot of clients that come in, for this program?
Yes, so the county takes appointments as well. My unit intake and referral screens the eligibility and sets up the appointments for the LIHEAP program. And they're pretty busy. They see, last year I think I saw about 7,500 applications the county. So, so they kind of rip and roll. So,
wow. Yeah, I thought we had a lot, but that's way outdoes us.
Right.
But I mean, the county is kind of the big umbrella over the whole area.
Correct. Yes.
So so I can understand now why you roll that program out, in 3 different months to try to target specific populations. So do they have to make appointments with you to come in?
Yeah, so appointments are required just because of the volume that we see. We want to make sure that we can get to everybody, especially if you're disconnected. We do have emergency appointments that we set aside for anybody who's off and
who's completely disconnected from their gas or their electric.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So we can kind of make sure that those people are prioritized as long as they're eligible for the program. So.
Okay, and then how do they go about making an appointment?
Yeah, so you just give us a call. So at 630-407-6500, you'll hear a menu and you press 2 and you talk to intake and referral, and we'll walk you through the eligibility. Let's say you call right now, we'll ask you if you have a senior in the household or someone who's disabled or a child 5 and under, or if you're disconnected. And if one of those apply and you're income eligible as well, that we would set up an appointment for the soonest time that we have available. So.
Okay, so, but always so you don't really take walk-ins for this particular
program? We do not,
program.
yeah.
Well, and I can imagine just like us, we want to make sure that we have the time to spend with you, and they have to bring certain information with them, right?
Correct, yes.
What types of information do they need to bring when they come for an appointment?
Yeah, so since it's income-based, we need the last 30 days of income, so that could be anything that is considered income in the household, like Social Security, paycheck stubs, child support, things like that, and as well as proof of the household members that they're in and their utility bills, the gas and electric bill. And if you rent, we need to see a lease as well. So kind of like 4 documents that we're looking for. And if you bring those documents in, they enter that information and then see if you're eligible for the program. So a LIHEAP worker meets with you and kind of does that application.
And how long does an appointment typically last?
It's pretty quick. It's about a half an hour.
About a half an hour,
yeah.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems to be about what Gary does, but I know sometimes, something's missing or they have to drop it off or whatever. So,
yes, yeah.
But so they really need to be prepared for the appointment. Call ahead, and then, we'll also have that information at the end of the program on, the county number to call.
Perfect, yeah.
And so what else do you consider to be a really important program? I know I've heard a lot about community care. Mm-hmm. What does community care program, what does it do, and who is it for?
Sure. So it is a very important program. So it's kind of a larger umbrella that it provides in-home non-medical caregiver for seniors 60 and over. And under that umbrella also has money management and adult day services and our emergency home response button. So that's kind of all facets.
Is that one of those alerts?
Yeah, the lifeline.
And I can't get up kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that it's pretty important because a lot of seniors, I think one of the major problems when seniors have issues and go to the hospital is a fall. Mm-hmm. So that is pretty vital.
Right. Yeah. So we get a lot of calls on that. I would say when the LIHEAP program is running and the community care program is probably our top 2 calls during this season at least. And it's essentially making sure that we want seniors to be in their home, as long as possible and as safe as possible. So we screen them for eligibility for the program. It is asset-based, not income-based. It is targeted.
What does that mean? What is asset-based?
Sure. It's basically looking at what you have in savings or a 401k, or if you own multiple homes, things like that. They don't look at necessarily what your maybe monthly Social Security is coming in, but what you have in assets. And the reason for that is that it is a waiver program through the state of Illinois, and they work with Medicaid, the kind of Medicaid system, to sort of pay for the cost, because there is no cost to this program to the senior. It is a free service, but that's why it targets lower income seniors, or lower asset base, I should say, seniors.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, do you know what the ceiling is? What is the ceiling for income?
Sure.
Or assets?
Yeah.
You're saying assets, okay.
So it depends on kind of what your household makeup is. For individual, you cannot have more than $17,500 in your bank account or in your savings or assets. For a couple who are both interested in the community care program, it's $35,000. And for a couple who maybe just one of the people are interested in the program, it's $109,500. So there's quite a bit of step out depending on what your situation is. And that's one of the questions that we ask when we have calling for screen, like why do you need the services? We ask about any kind of health impairments or health issues that maybe cause needing an in-home caregiver, and stressing that it is not medical. So this program doesn't provide like a nurse. It would provide more of a home health aide that could do bathing, dressing, errands, meal prep, laundry, it's kind of all the things that are not medical. So.
Okay,
Yeah.
and is this 24/7? Is that just 5 days a week? I mean, how, these home health workers, how often are they, able to come?
Sure. So it's also based on when you are screened for the community care program. Our unit, Intake and Referral, sends it over to our senior services, and they send out a case manager to the house to do a home visit. And there they do an assessment in the home, kind of seeing what they need and what their, activities of daily living are, and basically how you're able to kind of get up, get dressed, and if there's any impairments to that. And then they give you a number of hours based on what that score is. So average number of hours are anywhere between 5 to 15 hours a week. 20 or more would be kind of more on the extreme side. So it is not a 24-hour program. It's meant to sort of supplement some of the activities that you can't do on yourself, your activities of daily living.
So it's really not and probably when I'm thinking of it, and maybe wrongly so, it's not, and like, for instance, we had my mother-in-law in my home, and we weren't there. She has Alzheimer's, so she needs someone to be with her the whole time she's there. This program, because she might walk or she might leave.
Right.
So this isn't for that purpose. It's somebody who probably has their mental abilities but just lacks some of the, the daily stuff they might need assistance with. So if they got 20 hours, that's going to be spread over 5 days.
It could be depending on the availability of the home health agency. So you can make a request on saying, I'd like someone there Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for, 5 hours a day. But that's based on when the home health agency is available. So, and when the needs of the person are most important. So if let's say they go to dialysis, that's important for someone to go with them in the car to their, they're going to prioritize that maybe over, doing the laundry. That's not necessarily has to be a set time.
Okay.
So
this is just someone who's maybe aging in place, or maybe they might be living with a relative, but that relative is working, and so but they need some assistance in getting around and getting, like that extra aid, that extra person.
Yes.
And so do you contract with home health agencies?
Yes.
You have certain ones that you work with? Okay.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. They're all approved through the state Illinois Department on Aging. So it's a process that you agree to accept that those clients from this program. So once they're approved, there's a list that of clients. Of agencies that can be accept that client. So and they try and cater to any kind of language needs as well. So if someone strictly speaks Polish, they'll try and find a home health agency that has a Polish speaking staff. In there.
That's
so,
good. Well, that's got to be helpful because I'm sure it's stressful enough for a senior when they can't do everything on their own, and to have someone that maybe they can at least communicate well with.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So this is really just kind of an aid and I don't mean to say a prop, but something to kind of shore things up a little bit at home to help out.
Yeah.
When the needs become more dire, that would not be the place to go.
Yeah. If they're moving towards 24/7 monitoring or care, this program would not be able to fill that need. Now, I have seen ones that they have this program to do maybe the bathing and dressing, but they have a night companion that the family hires.
Okay.
So they can work in conjunction with other programs. It's not the main program. Additionally, I mentioned the emergency home response. That's a pretty valuable asset for someone, because that would be 24/7 monitoring, and they could push that button if they were alone, and maybe a little bit more functional, like you mentioned, but still has that additional kind of protection there, because it triggers that.
And that comes with that program, or they're able to get it.
They're
if
able
they
to
choose
get it.
to.
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
And that's a free, and is that hooked up to a first responder then?
Yeah, like companies that offer, so the same kind of like a home health agency.
Okay, that would call, and they would call in turn call to get the help for them. Okay.
Yeah, and then adult day services too is part of the community care program, and that's somebody who, let's say they do need. Not recreational, but more like if they have memory or capacity issues, and it would benefit them to go like every Tuesday to a center, adult day center, to have interaction and prevent isolation. So those services can be arranged through the community care program as part of their hours. So.
Okay, so that would be included in hours. So if they were approved for 10 hours, they could maybe put 2, 2, and 2 here, and then because I know there's. We have a Gloria Day Church in our area that, I mean, I know they have an adult daycare center there. It's the only one I know about.
Yes,
I'm sure there's others, you know, but that would give them somewhat socializing or interact, you know.
And usually it's targeted for those who have maybe the onset of Alzheimer's or dementia and need that isolation prevention, you know, just make sure they're not alone at home the whole day.
So it's possible to kind of piece together some things, you know, with the family. What if that person lives with family? Now, do you take both those incomes into, if they live with, say, their son and they, you know, maybe they only have their Social Security, but they live with their son. The son is still working. You're looking at the whole, you know, everything that's coming into that household?
No, we're just looking at the senior. So
just the senior's assets.
The senior assets. Now, if the senior shares assets with the family members, we would look at that, you know, and could get kind of
like Medicaid, where they're looking at, you know, if you're giving your money away, then, you know, then you have that ability to take care of yourself. And these days, you know what, that's really important. People are living longer, and maybe those assets need to be kept in place for that long term, you know, to make sure that you're able to take care of yourself. Yeah, I think that's just seems to. Do you see more of that, you know, these days? I think you know, people are like, oh, I got to leave that for my kids, which is wonderful. However, you know, if people are living a little bit longer or having some of the issues, they might need that money to just take care of themselves. Yeah, and you know, and just kind of being educated on, you know, what the true cost of living is, you know, past retirement, you know, and then people are retiring, you know, later in life, you know, as well too, is just kind of understanding, you know, what you may or may not need, and kind of understanding the long-term care planning. Whatever that is for you, you know, whether it's I'm going to sell my house at this time or do this, you know, just understanding what options are out there for you. Do you have any sort of counselors, and this might be off the subject of what you do, but do you have any counselors that can kind of guide people through those, you know, like what steps do I need to take right now in order to get that long-term plan out there? Is that something that you refer out to? Well, you need to see your financial counselor. Obviously, they're out there. But do you do any of that type of counseling? So we actually have a program called Options Counseling. So so we hit it right on the head there. And it is counselors that are in our senior services that are helping people kind of understand long-term care planning. So a common scenario might be like, all my children moved out of the house, and maybe a spouse has passed. But I have this large house with a large tax bill. I don't know what to do. I don't really necessarily want to leave, but I know I need to make a decision. While we won't make the decision for that person, we'll just lay out the options. Like, you could do this, you could do this, you could do this, and kind of work with that person on a shorter-term basis, but just kind of laying out the programs out there. Some of our programs also offer what we call a community visit, so they can kind of come out and say, okay, this is what community care is. This is what home delivery meals is. This is what happens when you go into a nursing home if you should need it, you know, and kind of know their options and know their rights, you know. So there's a lot of kind of facets they can do with that. So if someone's kind of in that transition point, as I like to say, you know, they can contact us for that information. So options really means options. How do they get to an options counselor? Sure. So same kind of entry point in most things. So you would call our main number and ask for intake and referral, and we do a little like pre-screen, just kind of looking for your interest in it, and we make a referral over to our senior services department, who would have an options counselor and give you a call back. So again, your general number, intake and referral, and then they would ask, like, I'm looking for some help in trying to figure out what my next steps are. They would refer them to options. Correct. They ask some kind of general questions and just kind of see, you know, if that's something that's in the realm of options. You know, we're not financial advisors or tax advisors. We can't help you. You know, maybe you plan a estate or a trust. That we would refer out for that. But we are definitely the ones that can say, I just don't understand what that means. You know, or I can stay in my home another year, but then after that, it's going to get, you know, bad financially. You know, what can I do within the year to help me, you know, move on or rent or whatever, you know, that they would need. So yeah, I can I imagine too, just even being able to downsize if you're alone. I mean, do you have a lot of, you know, and they have 30 or 40 or 50 years of stuff in their house. Right. I mean, do you have places to refer to for people to get help in just being able to downsize, to get out of their homes? As far as like
services.
I know at the
and things.
township we have, a couple of names that we, like the places where that'll help you declutter or whatever.
Yes, we have similar things, and maybe in more extreme circumstances, there is some flexible senior funds that could even help somebody who really needed to get out of the home and maybe is even on the verge of a hoarding situation. There's some funds that would be able to pay for that declutter service. But it's screened by a case scenario, but it's out there. So I've seen it occur before. So.
Well, and speaking of funding, do you have grants that fund some of your programs, and what might some of those programs be that are funded?
Sure. So a majority of community services is grant funded, so by one state or federal local grant. So senior services, there is that flexible community spending money, as we call it, and that is used to help seniors stay independent in their home. So they've done things like make sure there's a water heater repair. They repaired the water heater. And they may not have replaced the whole thing, but they might repair it. I've seen some of our respite funds help a caregiver go to a family reunion, but mom has Alzheimer's and can't be left alone. So they can use some of the respite funds to make sure that there is a 24-hour caregiver while she's at the family reunion. We've helped people prevent caregiver burnout, which is very important to do. There is home modification funds too, to put grab bars in bathrooms or raised toilet seats, widened doorways, ramps. So if someone wants to stay in their home but they just need more accessibility, there's funds out there for that. And they're all grant based. They usually are funded in right around October, and they last hopefully until the following October. So depending on
so you're hoping the funding lasts for a year. It just depends on how many people decide to call and say, there's a need, and I have that need.
Yeah.
Now, is the need based, again, is it based on income or assets or both, or just need?
Some of them are just need based, but most of them, they try and target lower income seniors, but that could be a wider range, maybe not the exact dollar amount like some of the other programs, but they want to make sure that the seniors are in the home that don't have the income or assets to maybe pay for those grab bars or pay the extra $100 for the water heater, because that would affect them paying maybe a bill on time. So they kind of look at their kind of a holistic scenario to see what would be helpful by paying this fund.
So in order to be evaluated, would that again come down to a social worker maybe coming out to the home and just kind of doing an assessment?
Right, yes.
To understand, okay, where are you at and what do you need?
Yes, yeah. Okay. So majority of the services do require a home visit just to kind of see what's going on. Because what is also great about that is if maybe you're calling us for one thing, but we go out to the home and say, hey, I see this in the home. Are you aware of the community care program? I am talking about grab bars, but you're telling me that you have trouble bathing, that there's a home health agency that could help you, and we can see if you're eligible for it. So that case manager that goes out is knowledgeable about the other services and can kind of assess the situation. So
do you, because I know, again, we get many residents and I also get phone calls from children, and when I say children, they could be 60s, themselves, of their senior parents,
right.
And they just maybe they're living by themselves. They don't know what to do. That person doesn't know what to do, and most of the time, I will refer out. I mean, unless I have another resource, I will refer out to the county and say, to call their number and take referral. I said many times they can send a case manager out to the house to at least evaluate the situation and see what the need might be.
Yes,
or if there's. So is that pretty much the right thing to do?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we oftentimes we get the family member, especially if they're not around the senior, and let's say like for the holidays they come home and visit and they say, oh my gosh, I didn't realize mom can't get upstairs. She hasn't told me yet. And so they can call us, even over the holidays even, and just kind of say, hey, I'm concerned. She told me she hasn't gone upstairs in 2 weeks. So we want to make sure that we can get a case manager out there to see what's going on and screen for those programs that I mentioned. So,
and then do you have vouchers like for clothing or furniture if people are in need of that?
Sure.
How do How do people go about getting that?
Sure. So as I mentioned, a lot of things come through intake and referral. So that is a service that we handle directly in my unit. So we can screen a household, and that could be any age, senior or younger. That we work with a couple local agencies. One of them is Sharing Connections, which is
right here in Downers Grove.
Right here in Downers Grove, yeah. That is a furniture bank that is a very nice service that offers a kind of a whole household approach where they make sure you have mattresses, but they also make sure you have furniture and some clothing and housewares and blankets and comforters. So when you visit after being referred by an agency like us, their visit is really like a one-stop shop. So we call it a once-in-a-lifetime service. So they walk away with having almost their whole household furnished.
But they have to be referred by you, correct? I know they can't just walk into Sharing Connections.
No, yeah, they will.
It's important to know.
Yeah, they'll send them back to an agency that has an agreement with them. We are partners with Sharing Connections to do those referrals. So, and the same with our clothing organization called Repeat Boutique. They're run out of Carroll Stream, and they offer clothing. You could visit every 3 months for a whole year on our voucher, so you can even get clothes with the change of the seasons, which is really nice.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So.
Well, I know we're coming again to the close of our program, which goes very quickly when there's so much information to share. I know you do nursing home pre-screens as well, right?
Yes, we do, yeah.
And you can get on your website to find a lot of information about everything that we've mentioned, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
And then so we're going to be ending it up again for today. Is there anything you'd like to emphasize about all, the many topics that we've been covering here?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, it's really important just to know that you can ask questions. So whether it's any topic, senior services, LIHEAP, transportation, clothing vouchers, utilizing our phone number, the 630-407-6500, going on our website, kind of utilizing those resources and reaching out and asking us, because we'll try and find the answer for you. So.
Well, and I realized one thing we didn't touch on was Ride DuPage.
Oh, yes,
but,
yeah.
We'll have to talk about that in another time, but
yeah.
It's another important asset to the RIDE programs.
Yes.
You can always call the township as well to find out about this information, and again, go to intake and referral.
Right.
We'll have that information at the end of the program today.
Yeah.
And so, again, I thank you for coming and being our guest, and we're going to have you come back because we'll do some more talking about these, because I think people really want to know and want to understand what's out there for them.
Yes,
so, well, thank you again for coming.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate you being here.
No problem.